And almost immediately we arrive in Vilastose. And literally within a couple of 100 yards from up there a bit, we bypass Grisa. To the right we'll go. It's Sunday morning, so it's particularly quiet today. This looks like the remains of an older church that would have stood there on that rocky crag, if you will. In this small town, here the cemetery extends on the other side of the street. And beside it, this looks like the present church, Romanesque in design, but notice how a few people have been favored by having their family crypts snuck into a corner of the building here. Here what looks like what must have been the original entrance of the church. Stained glass is gone if there ever was any there. And that area in front of that, because I think that's been abandoned as an entrance now, is for more gravestones. And I'm guessing that the entrance then were over on this side. Here's the pan view looking to the west from this unpretentious little church. Here the folks have an old wagon put on display. Look at how narrow, almost boat-like, in fact, the prow of that wagon is in design. But here we have the yoke with the either ropes or vines that held it together on its shaft. You just noticed this little bull icon on the side of this outbuilding here attached to that house that has the wagon. Similar to icons maybe that were used in some of the other countries to protect the building or whatever. Now here's a very lovely rural countryside context. Little stream going through, but here we have the original wash basin design, or clothes washing basin design. You can see the lines with the clothespins hanging on it. And you know these are families, kids with swings and a teeter-totter there, and a place for having outdoor picnics, and there a soccer field, and there's some more toys. So this is a very lovely little neighborhood for these farming families to raise their children. It's a long ways from here to any city of any size. Once again, me and my shadow. One of the nice things about the way, and notice the shell faces the spines or fingers of the shell facing the direction you're supposed to walk, and they often will take us off the roads onto these dirt paths or even more primitive paths, which makes it all the more interesting, although a bit dicey in darkness. Now you really have to ask yourself, when you've seen enough of these snails skittering across the dirt road, why did, for a moment, did he decide to go to abrupt right almost, and then abrupt left back to get on the same trail he was going to go? What lured him to that point? Just a pretty little wooded area I'm passing through. I stopped for a moment to take off my vest and put it on the pack, so I've got just my shirt on. What continues to intrigue me are these rock walls everywhere. And I don't know whether its primary purpose was, first of all, to get rid of the rock that's on the land naturally, so that anything can grow there in some predictable fashion, even if it's just this forest. It's also a practical way of having something to do with the rock when you remove it. But does it also imply the ownership of land over long periods of time? Here we can see that recently they've been clearing out the underbrush and apparently disposing of it somehow, and perhaps plan to do that with these adjacent areas. And maybe this is like consistent with the Chinese fifth generation philosophy of investing. These trees are simply an investment on behalf of a couple of generations down the road. You would also think that when neighbors have a common fence, particularly when it's made out of stone, which is a considerable investment, probably with stones from both sides of the fence, that there has been a presumption that that is the boundary, and that presumption can be relied on in the future. And now we enter this small town, which looks a little bit larger than the ones we passed through earlier today. My guess is that town we just passed through, where I stopped and had a standing agua con gas, and this little town that we're passing right here is the point where the road shifts to due west and over these hills to the ocean. Here's an example of one of the more primitive trails that'll take us down, principally I think because its goal is to take us over the top of that ridge somewhere and also keep us off highways. From whence I came to over the top of this ridge and maybe the ocean after that. And here another gnarly path out of this village, kind of near the top. There, peeking through the trees, I think I see my first view of the ocean. That much brighter blue there, you see, right there. And I believe I can almost hear the roar of the surf crashing. I'm guessing that this little town below me is Muxía, but I have no idea what that is over on that spit there. Okay, just coming down from the top of the hill there, here's Marexo going this way, and so where is Muxía? Or Muxía. So the young man tells me we continue on to Muxía. Looking back at the south end of that island, we looked at, or that spit rather, there's that spit of land again, so we came down far to the right. And I'm guessing this is Muxía. A nice walkway that goes up to it. So, here we go. For some reason, this is known as the Coast of Death, and this is Muxía.